Hello everyone, I'm Overhaul, and today we will be talking about the predictions or the possible outcome in the battle between Noelle and Vanica. The usual disclaimer at the beginning of my videos. I am not a kid specific channel. Although the topics I discuss might look like they're for kids, it's very likely that I will either start talking about something that's too adult for kids, it uses words that's too mature for kids, or just describing things that are too mature for kids. Which, considering the fact we're currently talking about considering the fact we're talking about a character, well, a battle between two characters who are currently naked, with only being covered with their own magic types, and one of which seems to bathe in blood of all things, it's very likely that we will come to this discussion. So if you're a child, I would strongly advise not to watch this video. As for anyone else, let's get into this. How long has it been since I made like a straight up discussion video? I'm just serious, how long has it been? Because I'm pretty sure I've spent like the last couple of, I want to say months, but I'm not sure, last 3 or 4 months, basically just making Fire Force reviews and Yu-Gi-Oh! Pack openings. But, it's time to return to the form, and this channel is more supposed to be discussing multiple other subjects, so it's time to start discussing something else. Now, like I said, in this chapter we'll be talking about the general possibility of what's gonna happen between Noelle versus Vanica. Now, this is not gonna be a straight up predictions for the next chapter that's gonna come out. I mean, Tabata can always simply just cut away from it, or could just have a fake out chapter or something on those lines. And how, as far as we know, the next chapter could literally just be one of those chapters that are just, oh yeah, really hype up, really show off a character, but then the chapter afterwards is just gonna be like, nope. Even though I'm pretty sure people will outrage if this isn't a straight up victory by Noelle. So yeah, what makes me want to discuss this topic specifically is because in the latest chapter 295, I believe the number was, we got a very interesting line of dialogue by the Dryad, the plant spirit that's living in the village of elves, stating that this new form, the Saint stage, which is something that Noelle got, has the ability to purify malice and destroy devils. Now, the reason why this is very interesting is the purify malice part, because that's like a really broad term, and I'm failing to see how exactly that does against any human, and how exactly does that help anything, and what exactly are the results of it. The only option that I see is that it's gonna come back into play in making Vanica a good person, or at least make her feel guilty. I'm not exactly sure. I feel like Tomo's gonna rewrite Vanica's character completely for her to be redeemed. I feel like she's still gonna be somewhat the way she is. I feel like she's just gonna be more less herself and more like Locke, Jack, and Meliona in terms of her personality than the way she is right now. Or at the very least, she's gonna be against the whole opening the gates to the underworld thing. That's what I assumed. Now, why do I think that Noelle is just not gonna be like a straight up battle between Noelle and Vanica, where Noelle defeats Vanica in a battle which, depending on what kind of person you are, either insane, over the top Noelle fanboy who exaggerates about how much development is over every single panel, or anything that you should bend the same way in the beforehand, or if you're someone who just thinks that, oh, it has to end up in a battle because it's a fucking battle, so it cannot end up in any other option, and every other option is bad. So yeah. Now, the reason why I think that this will not be so much as a battle between, it's not gonna end with Noelle defeating Vanica in a battle sense, and more like the purification will come and have Vanica be turned good, well, again, turned more not against the heroes and removed Magicula is for multiple reasons. One, Tabata during this entire arc has been pretty consistent in having the Dark Triad not all go in the same way, or not have the same thing happen the same time. For example, the beginning invasion parts. Xenon Nun's part was a straight up victory for the Space Kingdom. The straight up victory got slaughtered one side, no hope. Like when people were seeing this, no one thought that anyone in the Clover Kingdom could even stand a chance against the Dark Triad. Yet, Vanica's portion, although it was kind of a victory, there wasn't really like the kind of it literally does feel it. You can make an argument that Tabata remembered that he has to have Vanica win this because he wanted Dante to lose, so he decided to have this spell in so she would win. I mean, I don't want to say that that Tabata did that or claim that he stayed or something. No, I do acknowledge that that's probably not the case. But all I'm saying is, it's very likely that that could have happened, because once you look at the fight, there's not like that real moment between Noelle and the Hot Kingdom's battle where it's like Vanica looming over Noelle. There's like an overpowered presence. Like even when it happens, it immediately gets contracted with Noelle jumping in and stabbing Vanica and then getting Vanica's praise for it. Like there was not that overwhelming sense of despair that Xenon gave to and Dante gave to Asta in their first 1v1 battle. Like there was not that moment. Like a victory for Vanica, but it wasn't the same way as it was with Xenon where it was like a very definitive. And then Dante lost. And this wouldn't just be him. There's also the only time we have it the same. Like before the Spain invasion, we see Xenon talking and moving around while we only for a little bit while we see just Dante sitting the part and thinking to himself while we don't have Vanica anywhere to be found. And then we also have before this arc where we have like the build up where we have a volume building up Magicula, not Vanica, a page where we see Xenon overwhelming the Diamond Kingdom and no build up whatsoever for Dante. And the same goes for the Devil. When the introduction page, the full view of the damn pages, we see Xenon in the middle, while Vanica and Dante are on the left and the right side, while we have the Devils, Magicula in the middle, with Xenon and Dante's at the opposite and left and right side. So basically, Tabata has been pretty consistent in having the Dark Triad not always be in the same. Well, not have the same thing happen to him. And since I feel like the whole ironic defeat has already been done by Dante, where there's this guy who claims to be immortal and how great he is, but now he's just literally extremely pathetic state, this monstrous. I feel like the irony is not gonna be with Vanica. It's not gonna be like Vanica saying now, don't lose too soon, Noelle-chan. And then, the battle did end pretty quickly, but it was Vanica who just couldn't handle it. She lost it quickly. Like, I do not feel like that would be good writing, and there are other aspects of it that I feel would make a terrible writing. Now let's why this battle cannot be the end of Vanica's character if it's gonna be going on this line where Noelle just defeats Vanica with it. I'll get into Noelle beating Vanica a little bit later, since this is something that we have to discuss. And the reason why this being like the end, or like very close to the end for Vanica's character, is the fact that Vanica really doesn't have to be in the story at all if this is the end for her character. Like, there really is no purpose to her being in the story. Why, some of you might be asking? Well, every single action that Vanica has done so far in the arc could have been easily done by Magicula simply controlling her 100%. I mean, some people may not know, I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but those people who say how, oh, the Dark Triad had their purposes and now they can be written off because they accomplished their purpose, let's sit down and think about this. What purpose did Vanica have that couldn't just been fulfilled by Magicula? After all, Vanica's personality and Magicula's personality are very, on certain points, similar. You might get distracted by Vanica's lustful, battle-hungry nature and Magicula's analytical side. Well, the way Magicula analytically speaks, since we haven't seen much intelligence for Magicula to speak of. But as things stand, in terms of like the basics, you can see how like Magicula could be used the same way. For example, you can spin Magicula sparing Noelle as like, ooh, my curiosity, I'm wondering how much more powerful you can get, my dear. Or how, I wonder if you can be as powerful as your mother. You truly is perfect a vestige of her. And spin over Chica. You know what? Now that I think about it, she has a lot of very useful knowledge that I can use in something else. And so on and so forth. So in a way, Tsubata really could have just had it be something like, we like start the arc with Vanica not really speaking, kind of be very similar to Xenon's, not really take any center stage. Maybe like a little weirder movements, and then maybe like something resembling that. Maybe there's still a little bit of a communication, but nothing major. And then like have the big reveal. Oh yeah, I was in full control of this body 24/7 constantly. I mean, that would be. So yeah, basically, Vanica really doesn't need to be in the story, and if this is the end, it's also very pointless. So it would all feel pointless to have her in. Like, I like Vanica. I'm one of those people who actually think she's my favorite Triad member. But let's be real here. If Tsubata decided not to have her in and just use her design for Magicula until Magicula gets the full body in, I wouldn't complain. Hell, it's already stated more or less that Magicula has greater control over Vanica than the other devils, with him using half of her body, get into it later, as the vessel, and it seems like Vanica has this kind of like submissive, or at least like she knows she's below Magicula to the pool kind of behavior, which again might be not noticed by many people because of how little Vanica gets screen time and talks and all, interacts with everyone and all that. Well, interacts mostly with Magicula, but it does seem very strong hint that Vanica does what Magicula orders. Like, she's already, like, she's aware she's below Magicula. With her stating, Magicula, well, for once, when she literally entered the hard camp, she said, oh, was running an errand for Magicula. Literally saying Magicula, hinting that Magicula sends Vanica on missions. Saying, Magicula, you promised not to show up, implying that, stating basically that Vanica has no control of what Magicula does, and doesn't have a say in the matter. Like, she doesn't even completely complain or anything. She mostly just says, no, she does complain, but she doesn't, like, overreact. She mostly is, like, just kind of like a child is when their parents forces them to do something. Like, I don't want to do it. You promise not to. Basically, that's the kind of like, the comedy way to go with, Jika, you said you're not gonna interrupt my play date with my friends. Basically how they kind of got So, and not to mention, we've seen Magicla using half of one of Vanica's arm to remove the eye patch. So Magicla essentially already has control over Vanica, as well as, can use her around and order her around. So what is the purpose of having her in the story if she's already gonna be halfway under Magicla's control, or pretty much entirely under Magicla's control, and just straight up doing everything that you could spin it with rather ease with Magicula? There is no purpose, so you cannot really have it be the end. Also, some people may say, oh, it's the fusion, but you can simply have Magicula's body be used as a fusion material as well. And then there's the whole fact that from what we've seen of blood magic, there's no real benefit. I mean, Dante's body magic is a better. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Besides the fact, I'm pretty sure body magic could kind of compensate for blood and bone magic. There's no benefit to blood from what we've seen of Vanica. Dante's regeneration is better. Xenon could increase the defenses, so even if you do crack, so it would even be hard to crack the defensive. Vanica's attacks, you might say, but the way Vanica usually uses her attacks are very just. Again, you could compensate with bones. I'm not really seeing how that's the purpose of it. The only purpose of blood, you would say, is Magicula being kind of like Dracula, and Vanica Vanica being water versus blood, but that's it. So, anyways, whatever way you look at it, Vanica really did not need to be in the story if this is gonna be the end of her. No purpose whatsoever. Tabata literally might as well have just pretty much wasted a bunch of panels on Vanica talking and doing anything. Literally wasted, considering the fact he had a completely pointless panel with her sewing off a bit of there was a really weird panel in the battle before the battle started, really, with Vanica having this kind of a depressed, or not a very sad, or just a very negative expression before she gave her response to Nopachica about why she's trying to open the gate. Now, while we're also on this panel, I would like to mention the possibility of the fact that maybe the Tabata is hinting their defeats right now, but what happened in with in their previous fights, and I could see this hint at Vanica having more of a negative also be a reason why she gets purified by Noelle. Now let's talk about the Saint stage. Now listen, I know that seeing this Saint stage that dominate is pretty much a showing cliche. It's one of those things that I'm pretty sure no one would have a problem with winning with this cliche. I'm sure even the people who are constantly praising how unique and different it is would probably prefer it if it stays class cliche shonen trope with this mean victory. But here's the thing, this new form only had 2 days of training or 3 days to be to get and to grow, and I'm sure that Tabata is gonna explain the reason why Noelle was able to get in 2 days or 3 or whatever. Mostly comes from already having true magic, or already having experience, already being pretty familiar with Unti. I'm sure it's gonna be explained in a logical way, in a way where it's gonna make sense, it's gonna be a cop-out. But the fact is still, Noelle on her own, before battling Vanica, couldn't do anything. People seem to exaggerate how much it really worked. I mean, remember, Vanica's fighting style is very open and get hit. It's not really all that difficult. It's very chaotic. So you can get hits on her. So Noelle, not to mention that she also was fighting in a weaker area area, and she was only going 70% there. And Noelle, for lack of a bad term, wasn't able to defeat her at all. The closest thing that Noelle was able to do was like one stab that made her bleed something different. But from what we've seen of that blood, it didn't seem like Vanica was all that like, what? Or that, how? It seemed like more like she was just curious. Like, huh, now this is interesting. So why would just one attack but absolutely like one-sided slaughter go for, just because this new form end up with Noelle beating Vanica, who is again 30% stronger than her. Plus, we have to not forget that the fact that it would state that every percentage increase, even just by one, is a huge gap. So why would how would a character who is debatable, even if she would on her own be able to push Vanica into a higher percentage, since the Sea Dragon's Roar is one of Noelle's strongest attacks, probably the second strongest spell that she's got, and the Valkyrie armor didn't exactly went that much better without the boost from Lower Pachika and the weakening on Vanica's part. So why would Vanica be? So why would how would someone who couldn't even do that be able to defeat someone who is 100% now, double percent, 100%, and everyone's like a big gap of power, like 70% Vanica is a lot weaker than 71% Vanica. Basically, my point. In only 2 days or 3 days. Like, Tabata can. I mean, look. I know people like to. I know it's been stated that Saint Stage can kill devils, and I have no problem with this in the story. No problem at all. What my problem is the fact that Noelle went from being completely unable to even defeat a 50% Vanica, or even able to do anything much, such that like one wound seemed to have been pretty much nothing by Vanica's reaction, to being able to completely dominate 100%. That's my issue. Something can have the potential to defeat, the same thing with Asta. Asta always had potential to defeat high-ranking demons, but... Alright, is anyone gonna say that Asta in the dungeon arc would be able to defeat Nama and Lilith? Like, legitimately. Would Asta be able to defeat Nama and Lilith if he didn't have all the power, all the training and all the power-ups he got from dungeon? No, he wouldn't. It would be a one-sided slaughter, even though he is in that time still able to kill them. So why would... So it's the same thing. Saint Stage can kill it, and we can even see it being the one that takes down Magicla, but it's not... But it shouldn't mean that it can just one slaughter Vanica in 100%. In fact, I can even imagine this being like a joke from Vanica, a joke from in chapter 279, where Vanica's like, Noelle, you were no match for me in 70%. You only match I have a wound that was barely able to do anything against me. And now you think 2 days of training with this form that can admittedly beat me in a high-ranking devil, but it's not gonna do it right now. Seriously, I don't know why, for some reason I imagine Vanica like just, let's say Noelle actually stabbing Vanica and then using the close range Sidran's Roar, and then doing like serious damage, but then Vanica just grabs Noelle and like just headbutts her and it just starts bleeding. Because, also, again, I don't think that the battle should be like something that the result shouldn't be like Yuha versus Ichigo, where Ichigo goes Bankai with his new blades, and then you could basically just make fun of it and being like, oh yeah, all that training, all that build up, all that hype you people had, it was absolutely useless. I don't think we're gonna get something like that. I imagine it being like a very back and forth type of fight, which is something this arc so far severely lacks. Like extremely. The closest thing we got was Magna versus Dante, but every single fucking chapter ended with Magna getting that good final punch at fucking Dante. So, yeah, just saying. I feel like this same stage, and as well as the Ultimate Magic, should be able to like have a very even fight and clearly make Vanica alright, no jokey around. Like but I don't see it being something like, oh, it's absolutely fucking worthless. That's what I mean. Again, I feel this is what Tabata. It would make more sense if it's like a back and forth than an one-sided slaughter. And maybe you can still have it like Vanica is still, it has the advantage in it, and yeah. So I feel like this battle should go in. So the stage should be able to like make this be an even battle, which would, in my opinion, make more sense. Now, some people may also ask, but if Noelle cannot defeat Vanica at 100%, then how is she gonna be able to defeat Magicula? Okay, let's start this simple. One thing, Black Clover has always had more of a team-focused battle dynamic. Veto versus a team, Fauna versus a team. Most Zagrod versus a team. Most battles are team battles in Black Clover. So Magicula versus Noelle would have always been a team battle. And not just that, but most of the people who deserve to get a punch, kick, or whatever on Magicula are Wizard Kings. Well, not Wizard King, literal, but like people who are compared to Wizard Kings. Characters who in the manga itself are compared to Wizard Kings. Noelle, I believe it was in a data book, I'm not exactly sure, it could have been in a volume. Usmana amount would compare to Axel Silva and Julius, two Wizard Kings. Meliona, no. She is compared to Fogolion, who is also stated by Tabata that if there had to be a new Wizard King, Fogolion and Noelle, another character who deserves a hit on Magicula, would be perfect picks for Wizard Kings. That's 3 Wizard Kings, that's 3 Wizard King candidates, essentially. Then we have Gaja, someone who's been by the Wizard King himself said to be really strong. 4th, and you have Lope Chica, who is again been compared to the Wizard Kings. Essentially, you have 5 characters who are at least comparable, at least worthy of the position, or at least have something about them that would make them Wizard Kings battling against Magicula. Makes sense to me. And also, even if that's not enough, we have characters like Gordon, Charlotte. Hell, you can even have most of the Hot Squad join into the battle. After all, it might seem too chaotic of a battle, but you can always spin in a logical way. Like maybe one group goes in and then it gets defeated, but then they show up, then the other group shows up and they win. Like, just saying, you can spin it in a way where there's more than enough characters who deserve to get at least a punch at Magicula, who are extremely powerful. Also, by the way, power levels don't really matter that much in team battles, considering how many times we have like really weak characters participating in a team battle and winning. Just look at Finra, for God's sakes. So yeah, in a sense, Tabata doesn't need to have Noelle once shot Vanica for her to be worthy to fight Magicula. Alright. Now, let's discuss why it would make more sense that Noelle's new Sage States doesn't beat Vanica in a battle sense, but it purifies Vanica and pushes Magicula outside. And the main reason why I feel like it would make more sense to purify Vanica and push Magicula out is, well, simple. It would be a great parallel to the Heart Kingdom battle, and it would also be an irony on the way on Vanica's words, in a more of an interesting way, and it's not the same way as Dante's, it would make, well, it would fit the trio's the way to what has been done during the Dark Triad, and would give some very interesting story behind Vanica, or make Vanica's character more significant. Let's start by being great parallels. Now, one thing you might remember is that the way that the battle between the Hot Kingdom ended wasn't exactly like a final clash or anything like that, any kind of thing epic, like the thing that like Dante versus Austin Star and Yami, or Xena versus Yuno. There was no like that epic final oof. It was more like Magica shows up, has an overpowered spell, activates the curse, and curses Udine. Noelle is weakened in that sense, and Pachica is mentally exhausted and falls down. So there was no like that final finishing, no that like final finishing blow. Like there was not like a climactic end. Like Noelle's strike wasn't exactly an epic finishing end of battle moment. It was more like this happened and it was basically just a dialogue thing. So this resulting in Vanica being defeated by having the grief or the guilt over the people that she killed, like the Dark Disciples or the heading Pachica, because again thinking that maybe the purification will make Vanica feel all the guilt, and in pushing Magica outside of her body would be a very good, make sense for it to have this very similar ending, and it could even show us how much better some of these characters are, and the difference between them. In fact, Vanica already seems to have like a very similar final state that Noelle was in that Hot Kingdom, where since, you know, it's very clear Vanica is currently kind of naked, and if I recall that moment between Noelle and Hot Kingdom, I'm pretty sure Noelle was naked with only having some of that water outfit that Valkyrie dress covering her body. So again, it would be a great parallel between it. Also, Vanica gets paralleled between Noelle and Pachica a lot, if you think about her behavior, appearance, and everything on that kind of degree. So, also another thing, I can imagine, I don't know why, but I imagine that if Magica leaves Vanica's body, I could see it be similar to how Pachica saw Udine curse, where we get like a little brief flashbacks or a couple of flashbacks between them. Because I'm pretty sure that Magica was around Vanica when Vanica was a child. The main reason why I think that is because I am failing to see why did Vanica manifest Magica in half of her body willingly, while Dante and Xenon didn't do that. Like, so you tell me that the devil, who may or may not even be a Khalifa devil, it's debatable at this point where exactly Magica ranks, to say the least. I think there are some traditions that state that he was already Magica was already a Khalifa devil, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's revealed that he isn't, just a very capable, high-ranking devil from the final gate. I wouldn't be surprised by it at all. So the question. So I feel like there was some more. So I feel like Magica came to Vanica, and he's the reason why half of Vanica's body is his. Not so much Vanica willingly. Maybe it was like a trick. I just imagine Vanica was raised by Magica the same way how Udine raised Lord Pachica, which was again parallel Lord Pachica and Vanica, which would be pretty consistent. I can even imagine like having like this very twisted flashback where I don't know why, but for some reason I imagine Magica was raising Vanica to like enjoy pain, for her to find pain to be a good thing. Like, I don't know, I just imagine like, for some reason I'm imagining like a 5-year-old Vanica with Magicula grabbing different sharp weapons with her arm and like stabbing her, and Vanica asking why is Magicula stabbing them constantly. I don't know, I just imagine something really fucking twisted like that. So yeah, I feel like it would work on parallel sense. Now let's look at the all three of the story potential. Well, simple. Story potential is there. And it's obvious, honestly. Does Noelle kill Vanica now? Now Noelle has purified Vanica, and Vanica has lost all the will to fight and is now regretting everything she has done. Do you kill her? Or do you like allow her to live, to like atone, to use her later? What do you do? Do you leave her and have someone else like Little Pachica or Gacha or someone kill her? Like, what do you do with Vanica after she is, well, not redeemed, but well, no longer the way she is now? Like, what do you do? I mean, do you like just leave her there for now and you're gonna deal with her after you deal with Xenon? And what will Vanica do afterwards? Is she gonna like completely like be suicidal now? Or is she gonna go and help them? Or what? There's a lot of potential with keeping Vanica around. Also, this is something that's just me, but for some reason, I imagine a very badass scene down the line with Vanica and Lord Pachica having a Hydra and a Orochi behind them. So again, a lot of potential, very awesome scene that we can get if Vanica remains. And I could see it be later used. I can imagine there'd be a lot of potential with keeping Vanica in the story. With having Vanica be purified. So yeah. Then we have the whole, it would fit all three of them have the theme with all three of them having different. I'm pretty sure I already got into this. Dante be defeated in a very like prolonged way and killed, Vanica being spared to a degree, and Xenon being a quick, easy death. So yeah, the more I look at it, the more I think it makes sense for Vanica to be purified instead of being straight up killed. And her character right here and there. But of course, this is just what I think, and it's very possible, in fact it's extremely likely, because in the current arc, that what is just gonna go over the top, over favoring the heroes. Clearly someone else should have written these parts. Clearly too much, clearly going a little too much into how awesome they are, and just have straight up, oh yeah, the new form that Noelle only had 2 days to train and was beforehand barely able to do anything against Vanica. Oh yeah, she now defeated her easily in this new form in one chapter. In fact, not even a chapter, in half a chapter really. And Vanica is all done with. I can see it. I hope it isn't. I hope there's gonna be like a final twist. In fact, I heard that there's a continuous theme with the 96 chapters having some kind of devil thing. So it's possible that this could happen, unless it's just a coincidence. But who knows? Now, anyways, you guys tell me in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think Vanica will be purified and not killed? I'll be interested to hear it. And with that said, I hope you all like this video. I hope you leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more videos in the future. And with that said, I cannot wait to see all of you next time. Bye.